This is the Italian Real Estate Podcast, here to help you with the ins and outs and basics of Italian real estate, presented by ItalianRealEstateLawyers.com. Hello there, and welcome to another episode of the Italian Real Estate Podcast, presented by ItalianRealEstateLawyers.com. Of course, we are back at it again with Italian attorney Marco Permunian. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. And of course, I'm Rafael Di Furia. And in this episode, we wanted to talk about what is the cadastral value in Italy. What exactly does this term mean? It's going to be something that comes up when you're going through the process of purchasing or selling a property to find out what is the actual value of the property from a legal standpoint, from an official standpoint in Italy. Marco, can you explain to us a little bit more about what is the cadastral value? What does this term actually mean and how it's determined?
Understanding what the cadastral value is going to be very important for foreign buyers, as that is known differently in other countries. In Italy, the cadastral office is the office where the registries of all of the pieces of land and properties in Italy are held. In Italy, the cadastral office is a local office where public officials hold the registries of plots of land and properties in a specific area. And such registry includes the names of the registered owners of such properties, whether it's land or real estate. The cadastral value of a property is the official value of such property assigned by the Italian authorities that is used to calculate taxes when it comes to property purchase or when it comes to paying taxes for property owners. The cadastral value is different from the market price of a property, which is the price that is freely determined by the parties. But like I mentioned before, the cadastral value is the official value of the property, which is the one that is used to calculate property taxes and annual taxes. And the cadastral value could be significantly different from the market price of a property, which is again the one freely identified and negotiated by the parties.
Very interesting, Marco. So I'm just curious, because you said the value can be pretty far off. Would it be normal that the cadastral value would be lower or higher than the market rate?
It, of course, will depend on the specific situation, where the property is located, and the area, also the time period. Right now, prices are going up. So I'd say that right now it will be likely for the cadastral value to be lower than the market price, but you could find yourself in a situation where it's roughly the same or where the market price is actually below. Now, in this specific situation, some people will be inclined to pay taxes calculated on the purchase price, but make no mistake, taxes are to be calculated on the cadastral value, even if that's higher than the purchase price of the property. So you might find yourself in a situation where you found a deal and you pay the property a particularly low amount, but taxes are to be paid on the cadastral value, especially if you want to avoid issues with the tax agency in Italy.
Interesting. And Marco, since we're talking about the cadastral value being in relation to the calculation for how much you'll have to pay in tax, how is that all calculated in the end?
So taxes are the 2% if you're buying from a private individual. Again, the 2% calculated on the cadastral value, not on the market price of the property, but only if it's your first home. So there is a specific tax benefit for people who buy their first home in Italy, and these people can pay the 2%, so a lower tax amount. On the other hand, people who are buying their second home or people who don't qualify for the first home tax deduction, they will have to pay the 9% calculated on the cadastral value of the property. If you are, though, buying from a company, for example, the builder, the company that built the property tax is the 4% and the 10% if it's your second home or if you don't qualify for the first home tax deduction. Now, at ItalianRealEstateLawyers.com, we can help you understand the cadastral value of the property and the associated taxes before you commit to purchase a property. Again, it's very important that you know how much taxes you will have to pay, not only the one-time property tax that I just described, but also the annual taxes, which also have to do with the cadastral value of the property. And there are certain situations, for example, where the market price is very inflated. For example, if you're buying a property on the lake, you can expect to pay even several €100,000 or above €1,000,000 if you're buying a property, for example, on Lake Garda with a lake view. But the cadastral value of such property is much lower. So you might be under the impression that, the one-time tax associated with that specific purchase is going to be very high, whereas such tax ends up being extremely low in comparison to the market price.
Very interesting, Marco. And how is it that you actually go ahead and pay these taxes? How is that all handled?
The property tax, otherwise known as registration tax, is a one-time tax that you pay when you purchase the property. So at the time of the closing, you will have not only to pay the seller, generally through a certified check, but also the services of the notary, and such payment to the notary will also include the portion that the notary will pay on your behalf to the Italian Revenue Agency. Now, in Italy, the notary, a public official, is the intermediary which pays the property tax on your behalf. So the notary is responsible for paying the property taxes that you paid to him along with your service fee.
Thank you, Marco, for explaining that. And then also, just for clarification's sake, is this a one-time fee, or is it something that you have to pay every year, or how does that all work?
The property tax, otherwise known as registration tax, is a one-time tax that you pay at the time of the closing and that the notary pays on your behalf. It's the one that I've been referring to throughout the video. There is a second type of taxes that you pay annually and that you don't have to pay if it's your first home. So if you fall into that specific category where you can benefit from the tax discount for first home buyers, you don't have to pay annual taxes either. But if you do have to pay annual taxes, then the notary has nothing to do with the payment of those taxes, and it's something that you are responsible for through, generally speaking, your accountant or ItalianRealEstateLawyers.com if you're a foreign buyer and you want to rely on us to also pay annual taxes. And also those annual taxes are calculated based on the cadastral value of the property. However, for those kind of taxes, there is a component which is determined locally by the municipality. So it's easier to determine the one-time property or registration tax than determining the annual taxes, because those have to do with where the property is located and the set of rules set by the municipality to calculate the annual taxes.
Well, Marco, thank you so much for taking the time and going into this topic and explaining what exactly is the cadastral value and how this all is determined and works. But Marco, if anybody is needing help to purchase their own home in Italy, how can they get in contact with you and your team?
People can contact us through our website, ItalianRealEstateLawyers.com, or give us a call. Our number is on the website.
Absolutely fantastic. And of course, if you're interested in listening to more about purchasing property in Italy and where to do so, be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel as well as the audio-only podcast. But of course, if you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, that means that you're also automatically subscribed to the Italian Citizenship Podcast, where we talk about some of the legal aspects of making Italy your home. And if you're interested in more about life abroad, living abroad, and conversations to do with being a dual citizen expat on the other side of the world, be sure to come over to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Rafael Di Furia, or you can search for Not Your Average Globetrotter on YouTube or your favorite podcasting platform of choice. Of course, we have been here again with Italian attorney Marco Permunian for this episode of the Italian Real Estate Podcast presented by ItalianRealEstatelawyers.com. I'm Rafael Di Furia. Stay safe and healthy out there, and we'll see you all next time. Later.
Thank you.